channel may feature copyrighted video and audio content under the guidelines of fair use permitted by copyright statute for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. All content and credit go to the original creators. No copyright infringement is intended. This channel may feature copyright. What's up, everybody? Welcome to MTGV Crying Podcast and MTGV Politics. So we got a lot to talk about, and we don't have a whole lot of time, so we ain't gonna waste too much time getting into it. But yesterday I mentioned a couple things that happened after the Charlie Kirk incident, and also I mentioned something else happened today that I want to see if y'all seen what is going on. There was a judge whose house was burned down. I'm talking about in flames, so I'm gonna go to that first. Welcome in, everybody. Please smack that thumbs up as you come in, and if you hear on the replay, please smack that thumbs up and hit that hype button. That helps get us out in the algorithm and let everybody know that we have been live. Welcome in, everybody. Okay, so first thing, let me just do this first. So what we're here for is Pam Bondi is testifying before the House Senate. We're gonna get into that. Let's go here.
White House. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full
A different
review
question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr.
Never mind.
Homan
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight answer from you to a very simple
by the
question.
FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you know,
found no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and you rail against dark money.
Wait a second.
Yet you work with dark money groups all the time, Senator Whitehouse.
Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation, Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein.
Before we get too far, I want to welcome everybody into the building. Y'all, please smack the thumbs up as you come in. It helps get us out into the algorithm. Let everybody know that we are live. Shout out to the 426 people in the building. Shout out to my moderator, Rooted and Essential in the building. How you doing, fam? And so I wanted to talk about the Tom Homan thing, and I'm reading from Rooter right now. It says September 21st, President Donald Trump border czar Tom Homan accepted a $50,000 bag of cash from an undercover FBI agent last year in a since closed U.S. Justice Department bribery investigation. Two sources familiar with that matter said on Saturday or on Sunday. In the alleged scheme, Tom Homan promised immigration-related government contracts when he joined the President Donald Trump administration in exchange for the money. Homan promised immigration-related government contracts when he joined the Trump's administration in exchange for money, the source said, speaking anonymously to discuss non-public investigations. And they spoke about some whistleblowers too in the very beginning and people being exposed. So FBI Director Kash Patel ordered the investigation closed over the summer, and one of the sources said, and Holman could not be reached for comment. This matter originated under the previous administration and was subjected to a full review by FBI agents and the Justice Department prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoings. That's what we just heard Bondi say. And then Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a statement. Okay, so yeah, that's the Trump administration. The department resources must remain focused on the real American people. Okay, so let me just hit play, and then I'm going to read something else. And then I'm going to go to that judge. There was a judge's house that was set on fire, and that just happened overnight, I do believe.
How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once, but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you?
Okay, before he answered that, I do want to say this one part. It says there was an undercover sting operation that was set up, and Holman was caught on a recording accepting a $50,000 bribe in a bag from a restaurant chain, Kava, the sources said. Holman oversees the President Trump's campaign of mass deportation. So he's the border czar.
Investigation.
Y'all help us reach our goal of 300 thumbs up.
Been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at 0 of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that? Okay. Here's what we cut to something else.
Shout out to my BFF.
The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Mm-hmm. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats? And do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it. I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Seralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
Including
who
orchestration.
threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
Okay, before Cornyn speaks, I get kind of amused about my Democratic colleagues bringing up Treasury suspicious activity reports regarding Epstein. When Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, we used information from these very same type of documents. And you know what? We were criticized by our Democratic colleagues for doing so.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this time to go to that video that I was telling y'all about the judge. So I'm also gonna look at some information, but I'm looking at 118 on the Crime Channel with 8 thumbs up. Can we get 118 thumbs up? And then I'm looking at 676 people here as a whole. Can everybody please double tap the screen to get to the thumbs up button? That helps us a lot. I greatly appreciate y'all. Is free 99. So what are y'all thinking so far about what you're hearing? And let me do this so I can get to the video. And then yesterday I also mentioned some girls that were mowed down by some alleged accused stalker, but he also was a Charlie Kirk fan. And I don't hear nobody talking about it. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, here's what I'm looking for right now. Inside Edition got it.
A prominent judge's mansion goes up in flames. It's a complete loss. Thick smoke could be seen for miles. Now, the big question, was it arson? 69-year-old Judge Diane Goodstein was taking a stroll along the shore in Edisto Beach, South Carolina, when the fire started. Her husband jumped out a window, breaking his hip and leg. The judge's son was also injured, escaping the flames. The fire was reportedly triggered by an explosion. Investigators are at the scene, combing through the wreckage for signs of arson, if any. The judge has reportedly received numerous death threats since ruling against the Trump administration last month in a case related to the state's 3 million registered voters. Meanwhile, Curb Your Enthusiasm actress...
3 million... Wait, hold on. She ruled against Trump. Hold on. Let's catch that.
Enthusiasm actress Cheryl Hines is going where few Kennedy wives...
Hold on.
Enthusiasm actress Cheryl Hines... Meanwhile, Curb Your Enthusiasm this month in a case death threats since ruling against the Trump administration last month in a case related to the state's 3 million registered voters. Meanwhile, Curb Your Enthusiasm actress Cheryl Hines is going where few Kennedy wives have ever gone before. She's sharing her fear for her husband RFK Jr.'s life.
From the moment he announced he was running, I knew our lives would never be the same. I found it stressful that Bobby didn't get Secret Service protection. I think every day somebody would say to me, "Are you worried about him getting shot like his father and like his uncle?" And I was very worried about it. Still worried about it. I don't think Bobby tells me all of the threats that he gets, if I'm being honest.
The full interview with Hines airs Tuesday on...
Okay, so that don't have nothing to do with what I was looking for. Let me go to this one too.
Investigators are trying to figure out what caused this massive fire at a home of a judge in South Carolina. 3 people escaped by jumping out of a window, and they had to be rescued from the water using kayaks.
That's
The home
crazy.
belongs to Circuit Court Judge Diane Goldstein. She was not home at the time, but her husband was. The judge has been on the bench for 27 years. Investigators are trying to determine if this fire was set intentionally and was it related to any of the cases she ruled on.
We understand that the judge's cars may have been parked beneath the house and caught fire, and that may have been the reason why the entire house just
inferno.
went into that inferno.
Look at that. They just in the middle of the water.
Now providing extra patrols
they
and
by
extra
water.
security for local judges.
Wow. So extra security for local judges. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all think somebody did that, or was it like, a freak accident? I don't see any words that it says that this guy was a Charlie Kirk fan. Stop making stuff up. First of all, pay attention. We ain't talking about that yet. Anyway, let's continue. So the house that was caught on fire belongs to a South Carolina Circuit Court Judge, Diane Goodstein, and was her home with her husband, who is a former state senator. His name is Arnold Goodstein. While the fire destroyed the home and injured 3 people, investigators currently have no evidence to suggest the blaze was set intentionally. So key details to this who. Okay, all right. All right, hold on. So we know it was the South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Diane Goldstein and her husband, and they said he jumped out the window, broke his hip. The son had to jump out the window. They had to be rescued by water and kayak. So their beachfront home on Estedo Beach was destroyed by the fire, and the fire occurred on Saturday morning, actually, October 4th. So they're just now talking about it. I think this was just released today. But 3 people were injured, escaping the flames, including her husband and son. So I don't know who the third person was because she wasn't at home. She happened to not be at home, and luckily she didn't get hurt. And so the judge recently, the judge recently issued a ruling blocking the Trump administration from obtaining South Carolina voters' data, which drew criticism from Trump allies and resulted in her receiving death threats. The timing of the fire is raising questions and concerns given the judge's recent ruling on the border political climate, according to Time magazine. Wow. Okay, so we're going to go back. As a matter of fact, why I'm here, let's go to the girls that I was talking about that were mowed down by a podcaster or a YouTuber or something. I didn't watch it all, but we're going to watch it together. Please smack that thumbs up, y'all. Help us reach our goal, please. Our goal is to get to 300 thumbs up. Okay, let's go here. Yeah, he even, after he did this, he went on his channel and he talked about it. He's 17 years old.
Run down and killed. 2 teen girls were riding on an e-bike when cops say a 17-year-old in a Jeep mowed them down. And now we're learning one of the girls had complained repeatedly that the driver was stalking her. Ann Mercogliano has the latest.
They were best friends riding an e-bike when they were mowed down. Now, in a shocking twist, police accuse the driver of deliberately ramming into the girls as they rode home from a school event. Police say it was a cold-blooded murder and say the suspect had targeted one of the girls because she had spurned him. Maria Niotes and Isabella Salas, both 17, were killed. The grieving mothers supported each other as they walked to a vigil near the spot where their daughters' lives were taken away. This is where it happened, a quiet residential street in Cranford, New Jersey. A memorial to the young lives lost has been growing by the hour, and there's been a steady stream of distraught mourners. Police say the suspect fled the scene but was arrested nearby. Then, in an action that shocked many local residents, he was released after police initially thought it was an accident. Only later, when police learned one of the victims had a restraining order against him for alleged stalking, was the suspect arrested. We're not showing the suspect's face because he's a minor. He actually went online on a gaming site and tried to explain what happened.
This is a very serious incident that happened. And I really don't even know if I should be streaming this right now. But regardless of what happens, if you don't see me streaming for a little bit, you'll understand why. There's more to this story. It'll come out in the future. I'm a nice kid. I'm 17 years old with a good family by my side. And these allegations have been ruining everything.
The suspect is a relative of the police chief of the neighboring town. He released this statement. I do unequivocally condemn the actions of the accused. And like you, I demand he face the consequences of his alleged actions in a court of law. As the town mourns the deaths of the two girls, their accused killer is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Okay, now let me see what this other video say. Oh, is this? Oh, no, it's a different one, but it's still Inside Edition.
70 miles per hour. That's how fast cops say a 17-year-old was driving when he mowed down 2 teen girls riding on an e-bike. Now, video has surfaced of the suspect shortly after the crash, laughing on a gaming site.
It's the creepy laugh of an accused killer. We're learning new information about 17-year-old Vincent Battaloro, accused of intentionally slamming his Jeep into 2 best friends as they rode an e-bike. According to just-released court papers, police say he was driving 70 miles an hour when he plowed into 17-year-olds Maria Niotis and Isabella Salas. We found this video of Battaloro on a gaming site talking about pranking Maria by sending a pizza to her house. She reportedly had spurned his advances and had filed for a restraining order against him.
Hi, can I place an order for delivery, please? Can I get 2 large pepperoni pizzas? It'll be cash at the door.
He then lets out that demonic laugh. He tells viewers it's all because allegedly Maria had made fun of Charlie Kirk.
Whenever Maria sees the pizza guy come, better think of Charlie Kirk for making fun of his death.
Okay, now I know I heard Charlie Kirk some dang on where I'm sitting up here looking for all kind of stuff because I know I didn't pull that from the sky, and we just heard this from his mouth. Okay, that is what he just said, and this happened on the 29th, I think, of September.
Sees the pizza guy come, better think of Charlie Kirk for making fun of his death. Stupid clown.
A fellow gamer asks if he'll drive to Maria's house to watch the pizza be delivered.
Oh, I did that the last time, but the mother saw me pull up in the car, and I got tracked, and the police, did what they did.
Battaloro made the video 9 days ago. On Monday, when the 2 girls were killed, police say Battaloro fled the scene before they found and detained him and issued him an astonishing 15 tickets. But he was not arrested because he claimed it was an accident.
What?
The next day, Battaloro went online to express his condolences.
In a neighboring town, unfortunately, 2 girls were killed in a hit-and-run crash. I wish my sincerest condolences.
On Wednesday, after police discovered his connections to Maria Niotis, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Last night, Maria's mother spoke out.
She wasn't just my daughter. She was my best friend, my sunshine.
The families of both victims released a joint statement calling the suspect a coward of a man who had been plotting the attack for months.
Absolutely ridiculous. What do y'all think about that? And yeah, that they did not deserve that. I don't even know what they said they did at first, but we see ultimately it was about Charlie Kirk, just like I said. And it says the victims' names have not still been released by law enforcement, but the family members have identified them as Maria Niotis and Isabella Rose Salas, both 17 years old. And then on Tuesday night, hundreds gathered to remember the teenagers. And they also have a GoFundMe for them that has already raised more than $150K for the loss of them. And that is so sad. Wow, it's at 164K right now. And let's see what they said. They've had 2.2K donators, and their top donator donated $2,500. They got a couple people donated over 2,000, 1,200, a bunch of people donated 1,000. And so they are getting supported. And it says, it is with the heaviest heart that we share last night the horrific accident on Burnside Avenue took the life of our colleague, I don't know how to say her name, Satiri, 17-year-old daughter and her friend. We have been working with Magic, Remodeling George, and Satiri for years. And they couldn't be a more incredible construction crew. Our hearts are broken with the sudden and senseless loss of two beautiful young lives. This is an active investigation, and we cannot share any further details. We will let the police do their job. We are grateful for the law enforcement and all first responders and neighbors that tried their very best for the better outcome of the girls. Most importantly, we pray to God that he wraps his arms around both of these families during this unimaginable time of pain. We have set up this GoFundMe for our beloved colleague, daughter, and her friend to help with their unexpected cost of funeral expenses. All money raised will be split evenly between the two families. We thank you all in advance for your outpouring of love and support during this time. Please note, George is the beneficiary. Listed is the family, Satiri family, and he has approved to collect on both families' behalf. So yeah, that is what's happening, y'all. Like I said, it's been a lot of things going on, and because they are idiots, somebody said, I care. I'm glad you care. What happened? Yeah, these young girls were mowed down by a Charlie Kirk fan, but he also was stalking them and all kind of stuff. So it sounded like a combination of things that was going on in his brain. But and then also a judge's house was on fire. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Pam Bondi.
Recognized. Thank you. Attorney General Bondi, good morning. I'm going to start on a different subject.
Good morning.
On behalf of families in my state. And I wanted to thank the FBI and the local justice officials in Minnesota, the U.S. Attorney's Office, for the work that they did catching the murder, in the horrific murder of my friend, Speaker Melissa Hortman, and her husband, and the shooting of Senator John Hoffman. Just last month, my state was again shaken to its core when a mass shooter attacked Annunciation Catholic Church in Minnesota, shooting through the stained glass windows, injuring 21 people, including 18 kids, killing little Fletcher, little Harper, an 8 and a 10-year-old, murdering them when they're in mass praying, 12-year-olds protecting 8-year-olds. I know we've spoken about these tragedies, and we both agree that this kind of violence, whether in Minnesota or at a Mormon church in Michigan or the assassination.
I do want to remind everybody we have a goal of 300 thumbs up, and we only have 65 on the politics and 19 on the crime. Come on, y'all. I might as well end this live stream if y'all not going to hit the thumbs up. It is totally free. It don't cost you anything. So please double tap the screen or hit the 3 dots upper right to help us get to our goal of 300 thumbs up. And that's just a short goal. We need 1,000.
Charlie Kirk has no place in our politics or in our democracy.
Hmm.
In 2018, after the
Let's go back.
Parkland shooting, you were at a Mormon church in Michigan, or the assassination of Charlie Kirk has no place in our politics or in our democracy. In 2018, after the Parkland shooting, you were Attorney General, and there was a bill called the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act. And the bill banned bump stocks, enacted red flag laws, and raised the minimum age to purchase a firearm in Florida from 18 to 21. And you actually defended the law in court from a challenge from the NRA. And we know that I'm in favor of an assault weapon ban, period. I look at these bills and I think, does this hurt my Uncle Dick in the deer stand? We have a proud tradition of hunting in Minnesota. I don't think they do. But as I talked to Director Patel, and he told me in the chair you are sitting in right now, that assault weapon bans could prevent future attacks. I talked to him about better background checks, about red flag laws, and then that perhaps we could find common ground on what actually happened in Florida, which would be to at least change the minimum age for purchasing assault weapon, because we've got 18 to 20-year-olds commit gun homicides at over triple the rate of adults 21 years and over, even though that wouldn't helped in Annunciation Church because he was a few years older. She was a few years older. But as you know, the shooter at Parkland was 19 years old, and the shooters in Buffalo and Uvalde were both 18 years old. So given your efforts in Florida, do you agree that at least raising the age for purchasing assault weapons could reduce the number of these shootings?
Senator, first, that's pending litigation, and I can't discuss that at all. The 21 is pending litigation. I cannot discuss
In
that.
Florida?
But if I could go back
I really
the
didn't know
21
this.
age is pending litigation. I can't discuss that. But Senator, back to what you said about what happened in Minnesota, there is no place for that. And I believe I spoke to you after that horrific.
Okay.
There's murders. And I'm so sorry that happened. And all of my federal agencies were partnering with state agencies, working hand in hand in Minnesota. What I can tell you about the Second Amendment is this is the most pro-Second Amendment DOJ in American history, as you know. But we want to keep guns, as you said, where they should be, in the hands of law-abiding American citizens, while keeping them out of the hands of criminals and gangs. Since January 20th, the ATF and FBI have seized more than
you gave these statistics.
30,000 illegal guns.
I have 10 minutes.
30,000.
You have
Senator
given these
Klobuchar.
statistics, and I truly appreciate those statistics. But what I was just trying to get at was something where maybe we could find common ground on a bill that you actually defended in court in a state, which Director Patel seemed open to, and that was looking at, could we at least raise the age to 21 of the purchase of an assault weapon federally, while states look at banning these weapons overall, given these little babies that this gun is used to kill. So we can talk about it later, but that was my question, and you don't want to answer it.
No, it's pending litigation, Senator.
Okay. But your views on this is not pending litigation. So I want to get to the independence of the Justice Department. At your nomination hearing, I specifically asked you to provide assurance to every member of this committee that the Justice Department will only follow the facts and the law, and the White House will play no role in the cases investigated or brought. You stated in response, this was you, politics will not play a part in my decisions. And you also said the Justice Department must be independent and must act independently. Do you believe that you have upheld that commitment?
I absolutely have upheld that commitment, Senator. I pledged that I would end the weaponization also of the Justice Department, and that America would once again have a one-tier system of justice for all. And that is what we are doing in this country.
We saw this with the president direct.
An Ebony Alert is a California emergency. Hold on, y'all. My computer is doing what it want to do right now.
An investigation prosecution of Chris Krebs, the former head of cybersecurity, Lisa Cook, who is a current governor of the Federal Reserve, Director Comey. And the president, and I know you have said that you will not discuss discussions you've had with the president about Comey. Is that correct? That you won't testify here about that? Because I was going to ask you if you received advice, instruction, or request from anyone at the White House to direct the department to engage in any investigations, prosecutorial actions, including decisions not to investigate or prosecute anyone.
I'm not going to discuss any conversations.
But then how about the Truth Social post on September 20th, 2025, in which the president said, "We can't delay any longer, Pam," using your name, "not bringing criminal charges are killing our reputation," his words, "and credibility." And then goes on to tell you to prosecute a member of this committee, to prosecute the Attorney General of New York, and to prosecute James Comey. Do you consider that a directive to the Justice Department?
Senator Klobuchar, President Trump is the most transparent president in American history. And I don't think he said anything that he hasn't said for years.
Okay, it has been reported that you initially pushed back against requests by senior Trump administration officials to push out or fire the acting U.S. attorney in Virginia, Eric Siebert, who's a conservative Republican, who made the decision that the evidence was not there to prosecute Comey. What made you change your opinion?
I am not going to discuss personnel decisions.
Okay. Is it true that the career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia found that there was insufficient evidence to bring criminal charges against former Director Comey?
I am not going to discuss pending cases because Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia by, I may point out, one of the most liberal grand juries in the country.
Welcome in, everybody. Y'all, please, thank you to everybody that did hit the thumbs up. So after this, I want to go to find out about Melissa Hortman and her husband. I do believe they were Democrats. I don't know the story yet, but we're going to go to it because we talked about it before. And I remember seeing it was a press release where they asked the president, after Charlie Kirk's death, they asked, wouldn't they think it would have been appropriate for them to do the flag half staff for her? And he was like, who are you talking about? It was like he didn't even know who the people were. There's a lot going on after Charlie Kirk, y'all. A lot has happened.
Okay, let's go on to other firings or terminations. Last week, the Justice Department fired at least 2 senior attorneys in the Eastern District of Virginia, including the office's national security chief, Michael Benary. It is reported that his firing came following criticism from a right-wing social media commentator who wrote, "One can only assume he was part of the internal resistance in the Comey indictment." In fact, he did not work on the Comey case. Instead, he was working on pursuing justice for service members killed in Afghanistan. How does firing a 20-year national security prosecutor enhance public safety?
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now is that all of my agents, all of my lawyers are working. My agents are on the street working without a paycheck because your party voted to shut down the federal government.
Unfortunately, the House isn't even back here. They're 18 days off the job to even meet with us to come up with a resolution that we would like to discuss with them about saving people's health care. Let's move on to the Antitrust Division. Did you authorize your chief of staff to overrule top officials in the Antitrust Division to settle the challenge to the Hewlett-Packard Enterprises Juniper Networks merger?
Senator Gail Slater runs my antitrust unit, and she is doing an excellent job on many, many cases. As you know, that is a pending case.
Okay.
In any merger, just to clarify, in any merger, Senator, there is a deal struck with our office and with the corporations involved. But then that also goes to a court to certify in any merger. In any merger, it's a multi-step process.
Okay, I
And
will
that
ask some
process is
further
still pending,
questions
Senator
about
Klobuchar.
antitrust. I just had one other thing. DOJ can now take the extraordinary step of
Time's
subpoenaing
expired.
journalists. Has the Justice Department issued any subpoenas to journalists under the updated guidance?
Time is expired.
Okay, I'll ask
You
those
may
on the record.
respond.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to Melissa and her husband. Let's see what we can find out about that. Let's look at this first. Wait, what happened to? Oh, here it is.
Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. Moving on the map now to Minnesota, where we are for the first time hearing from the children of Democratic lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. In a statement, Sophie and Colin Hortman say they are devastated and heartbroken about what happened to their parents and that their love was boundless. They also want to remind everybody who reads their statement, love your neighbors, treat everyone with kindness and respect. Well, 57-year-old Vance Belter is accused of doing just the opposite of that value of love and respect of neighbor in the murders and the shootings that night. Belter caught by police near his home following an exhaustive 36-hour manhunt. Investigators revealed yesterday Belter actually visited the homes of two other politicians the night of the shootings, but say one of the intended targets was on vacation. Police arrived at the other house before the suspect could carry out the attack there. Here's what prosecutors in Minnesota had to say about the chilling moves by their suspect the night of the violence.
It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares. It's pretty clear from the evidence that he's been planning these attacks for quite some time. There's voluminous writings, as you've seen in the reporting, that were found both in his car and his house about his planning, lists of names and individuals. In terms of the why, it's unclear.
So we carried out that news conference yesterday, 24 hours ago, live here on CBS News 24/7. And in that time, CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen has had a chance to get those charging documents to really dig into what the revelations are there. Jake, I'm still stunned by line of everything that I've read. You?
It was certainly one of the more powerful affidavits that we've read, simply in terms of actually living through the nightmare stuff that the U.S. Attorney General or the U.S. Attorney in Minnesota was talking about yesterday at that press conference, that this was a deliberate attack, which went layer by layer to people's house, deliberately targeting them, impersonating a police officer, wearing a silicone mask that looked very lifelike, leaving that material after police intercepted him at one of those stops and leading on a manhunt through parts of outside of Minneapolis, in which he actually approached a witness who had obviously had no involvement in the shootings, but then bought a car and an e-bike off of him, where later that car was abandoned and they found him, staked out in the woods. On top of those two murder charges at the local level and attempted murder charges at the local level, federal officials have also charged him with first-degree murder of the the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, who were shot and killed. In addition to that, there are federal stalking charges, because it was clear that he had staked out these homes before, had deliberately a list of people who he was going to go see. And really what we saw, which I think was the most striking thing going forward for anyone in the public sphere, like these officials was how he approached these officers. A police officer pulled up to him at one of the homes, and the cop thought that he was a police officer because they already had this alert of a first shooting, tried to talk to him. The man only looked straight ahead, and then the cop pulled away. By the time they really had to move on to another target to make sure other people were protected, right? So certainly some striking details. He appeared in court yesterday, and there'll be another court appearance in the next couple of weeks.
Well, speaking to charges, we know of federal charges. We also know of those state charges. Which ones go first? Which one take priority as prosecutors work to get him into the court system and process him through? And the reason I ask this is because we're also mindful, as Lilia Luciano reported, of the Luigi Mangione case and how the feds want the death penalty there.
That's right. And obviously, these first-degree murder charges can be pursued as the death penalty. Attorney General Pam Bondi has made no secret of that. We saw federal law enforcement in Minnesota yesterday say that there really is no preference. However, the level of the federal charges that were charged yesterday and officially put onto paper are available to keep him in prison as lower charges play out. We saw a federal court appearance yesterday. Really, these will pursue simultaneously, and then eventually something will have to go first. It appears, at least right now, while local officials took the lead, that federal charges might come first read, but we'll see, as obviously with a decent attorney, you're able to kind of punt some of these charges back and delay some of these court appearances, as we've seen with the other high stakes attacks in the last couple of weeks. Think about Boulder, think about the DC shooting, where there are these initial charges, and then there's basically a break so that every legal team on the government.
One of the intended targets was on vacation.
I am on mute. So it says, I'm reading from the United States Attorney's Office, and this is the District of Minnesota. It says Vance Boter indicted for the murders of Melissa and Mark Hortman, the shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman, and the attempted shooting of Hope Hoffman. Golly, I missed all this. The shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman and the attempted shooting of Hope Hoffman along with Melissa and Mark. Wow. So this guy now this is written July 15th of 2025. It says Vance Boter, 57, has been indicted on 6 federal charges in connection with the stalking and murder of Minnesota House of Representatives Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman, the stalking and shooting of Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette Hoffman, and the attempted shooting of the daughter Hope Hoffman, announced acting U.S. Attorney John H. Thompson. So Vance Boter planned and carried out a night of terror that shook Minnesota to its core, said the acting U.S. Attorney Thompson. He carried out a targeted political assassination, the likes of which have never been seen in Minnesota. We grieve with the Hortman family and continue to pray for the recovery of the Hoffmans. Today, a grand jury indicted Boter with the most serious of federal charges for these heinous political assassinations. Let me be clear, Boter will see justice. According to the court documents, after extensive research and planning, Boter embarked on a murderous rampage targeting Minnesota elected officials and their families. On June 14, 2025, the defendant disguised himself as a member of law enforcement and traveled to the homes of Democratic elected officials with the intent to intimidate and murder. Early that morning, the defendant traveled to the Hoffman's homes in Chaplin, Minnesota, by posing as a police officer. Bolton compelled the Hoffmans to answer their door. Boter compelled them to answer the door. He then repeatedly shot Senator Hoffman and Yvette Hoffman, and he attempted to shoot their daughter, Hope Hoffman. Boter then traveled to the homes of 2 other Minnesota elected officials, only to find that no one was at those locations. He next drove to the home of Speaker Emerita and Representative Hoffman, Melissa Hoffman, or Hortman. I keep saying her name wrong. There, Boter repeatedly shot and killed Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark. Following a 2-day manhunt, law enforcement arrested the defendant near his family residence in Green Isle, Minnesota. The defendant is charged with numerous counts of including the stalking and murders of Melissa and Mark Hortman, the stalking and shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman. That's why I'm getting it wrong. Hoffman and Hortman, and the attempted shooting of Hope Hoffman. The defendant faces charges which include maximum penalties up to life in prison or death. Last month, the state of Minnesota experienced fear and panic. Today, Vance Bolter was indicted by a federal grand jury, marking another step in our pursuit of justice, said the special agent in charge, Alvin Winston, the FBI Minnesota. As alleged in the indictment, Bolter actions took the lives of the House Speaker, Emerita Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Mark Hoffman, both beloved members of the community. The indictment also alleges that Bolter seriously wounded Minnesota Senator John Hoffman and his wife. This targeted violence was an attack on the rule of law, resulting in a manhunt involving hundreds of law enforcement officers who worked tirelessly until Bolter was apprehended. The FBI remains grateful to our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to their dedication. Vance Bolter, his evil acts did unspeakable harm and terrorized our entire state that night. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans said, "A lot of work has been happening, and we are glad to see these next steps taken toward holding Bolter accountable. Political violence has no place in our society, and Bolter will be held accountable for his crimes. Today's indictment reflects the tireless efforts to dedicated professionals who work every day." Okay. All right. And then the other people that I have been talking about. So, I mean, y'all might have seen this. And as a matter of fact, I do remember seeing flashes of this. I just wasn't paying attention at the time. And there was another one that it happened with. And then I'm going to get back to Bondi. But I just want to go to the other one that I had mentioned, which was Paul Pelosi. And his wife's name is Nancy Pelosi.
Breaking right now at 11, footage and other materials related to the Paul Pelosi attack were released to the press. NBC Bay Area and other news organizations asked for that release, and we got that evidence. Now, you may remember that Paul Pelosi was attacked in his home along with Nancy Pelosi. That they own that home together. That's in San Francisco. A home. This happened back in October. Now, the former speaker was not at the home during the attack. That suspect, David DePape, who was arrested that night, is now facing assault, attempted murder, and other charges related to attacking a family member of an elected official. DePape has pleaded not guilty. We do have team coverage for you this midday as our investigative unit is going through every frame of that new body cam, as well as surveillance video, as well as the 911 call. First, we want to begin with NBC Bay Area's Bagat Shaban with more. Bagat?
Marcus, good afternoon. We were the first to receive the video and audio evidence used against David DePape.
God dang it. Okay, we do need to know one more thing about Melissa, because I mean that whole situation, because I'm trying to figure out why was she targeted? You know, what was this about? And it says the Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman was targeted and killed on June 14, 2025, and what authorities call a political motivated assassination. The suspect, Bolter, allegedly had a list of targets that included dozens of Democratic officials and advocates for abortion rights. Wow. Okay, let me get back to this.
Included in those exhibits is police body camera video showing the moments the two San Francisco police officers arrived at the Pelosi home at about 2 a.m. early that morning. You can see when they knock the door, shortly after that door opens, and standing there are both David DePape and Paul Pelosi, each with a hand on the same hammer. Officers order the men to drop the hammer. Less than 5 seconds later, you can see David DePape lunge at Paul Pelosi, striking him in the head, then sending Paul Pelosi to the ground, laying in a pool of blood. We want to warn you, the video is graphic. We're about to show you the entirety of that video as we received it from the court. We have blurred portions of the video, as well as bleeped parts of the audio that include profanity.
Yeah, definitely don't want all of here. I definitely don't want all of here.
Okay, so this particular attack, Paul Pelosi was not the primary target of the 2022 home invasion and assault. His wife, Nancy Pelosi, was. The attacker, his name is David DePape, or whatever, if I'm saying that right, was motivated by right-wing conspiracy theories and political extremism. And also I was saying that this reminds me of another situation. It was a transgender and a black guy. Both of them were black. I think his name was Brandon. Forgot the transgender name. It was a knife that they both had a hold of, and the cop came in blazing right away. Where I mean, he didn't waste no time. Whereas this guy, it seemed, I mean, it was kind of like they didn't even shoot the guy. Let's just say that they end up handcuffing the guy. It's like he hammered the guy right in front of him, and they could have shot him like they shot Brandon right away as soon as they walked in the house. But let's keep going.
Hello. Yeah.
What is on
Yeah,
that?
literally sitting there. Hi, how you doing?
Now see that? Y'all see that? Who's not supposed to be here? Would it be this guy with the shoes, the shorts, the belly hanging out? This, you know what I'm saying? Versus this man who called 911. He got his shirt on, boxers. I don't even think he got shoes on. I can't really tell. But too much time already went by.
Oh yeah. What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
See, look at the smirk on the guy's face too. And he told him, man, it just seemed like these cops could have saved this old man from getting hammered like this. Okay, I'm gonna let it play.
Hi. How you doing?
Oh yeah.
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
No. Hey.
What is going on?
He should have shot him, man. I'm sorry. Look at that shit. They still ain't shot him. To me, they let it happen. Like, why they didn't shoot that man before that? You can tell who's who. Like, what? And the man lived too. The old man lived.
Edward 14, Edward 10, back up, code 3.
The man is still living and he ain't got not one bullet in him. I'm just saying, this is crazy. Like, what? Did y'all know this stuff? These are politicians this stuff is happening to, and this ain't even everybody. Let me let it keep playing. That's crazy.
Working out.
Sleep. Wow, man.
Edward 14, Edward 10, medics, code 3 as well.
Dang.
You got it?
Sorry, 14 over 10, medic code 3.
Affirmative.
That's crazy.
And that gruesome attack, of course, sending Paul Pelosi to the emergency room where he required surgery for the injuries he sustained on his skull. Now, also included in the exhibits we received today were actual recordings of investigator interviews with David DePape shortly after the attack. It is providing some insight as to what actually motivated David DePape to, of course, break into the Pelosi home early that morning. Of course, he was not looking necessarily for Paul Pelosi. In fact, when he woke him out of bed, he kept screaming, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" We now know from his conversations with investigators that Nancy Pelosi, the then House Speaker, of course, former Speaker now, was on his, quote, target list. He said that he wanted to talk with her in light of all the lies that were coming out of Washington. He said if she told the truth, he would let her go, but that if she lied, he promised to break her kneecaps.
Wow.
He also told investigators that he assumed Nancy Pelosi would lie. We want to play now a portion of that police investigator interview with David DePape.
Now, another thing, Nancy Pelosi was not there. I think she was out of town or something. And they had a security detail that had been protecting them at the house. But because she wasn't there, the detail went with her. And so the target was Nancy Pelosi. And then it also says, according to the prosecutors and his own testimony, DePape broke into the Pelosi residence on October 28th of 2022, intending to kidnap and confront the then Speaker of the House. He repeatedly asked, "Where's Nancy?" before and during the attack. And so he also testified that when he found only Paul Pelosi at the home, his plan was basically ruined. He told the court that Paul Pelosi was never my target, and he reacted by assaulting him with a hammer. So DePape had been radicalized by online content. Now, they killed me with that. He a grown-ass man. Anyway, they said he was radicalized by online content, including false claims about Russia interference in the 2016 election. So he's a MAGA? Is he MAGA or is he just a Trump supporter? Let me know. So including false claims about Russia interference in the 2016 and the stolen election conspiracy following the 2020 presidential election. He believed he was fighting the government corruption. Okay? That's what he believed. Let's see what else he's saying here.
But is there a reason, like, did you feel like the Pelosi's have done something to you?
Well, not me specifically, to the entire American public, honestly. Of all the people like Washington that lying on a consistent basis, she has to be like the leader of the pack.
Wow. Politics.
DePape also told investigators that he planned to hold Nancy Pelosi hostage if he found her there at the home. When officers arrived, they actually found zip ties that David DePape had actually brought to the home that he used, that brought with him after he broke into one of the glass doors there in order to get into the San Francisco home. DePape now facing a slew of not only state but federal charges. He faces 13 years to life, Marcus. A jury trial here in San Francisco, though, could still likely be months away.
And Magad, this is the first time that the media or the public has been able to see and hear the video and audio, but this is something that's already been used in court before.
They got a whole video of him also busting the window. I mean, it's all recorded. He had some hammer, probably used a hammer to get in there. But yeah, so I just wanted to show that because I have been mentioning it before, and I just wanted to show, oh no, 13th to July, he'll be out. Oh no, zip ties. This is crazy. Trump will give him a pardon for doing his dirty work. Man. Wow. Okay, let's go back. Did we hear this one? And then here's something right here. Gunman holds an ICE reporter at gunpoint. Wanna be Kirk Jr. Let's go to this. It's just too much, y'all. Too much. Now this happened today.
All right, let's get another perspective from on the ground. Let's bring in independent journalist Nick Shirley, who's been out there in front of that ICE facility many nights. Nick, thank you for being with us. And I wanted to start off this segment with something that I think is going to shock a lot of our viewers. I watched this on social media the other day. This is you being confronted by an agitator out in front of that ICE building who threatens you with violence. Listen here.
What are you doing? Why are you so mad? I didn't do anything.
You did.
What did I do?
What?
I haven't done anything.
What? Do not come back.
Watch out.
You come back, I'm gonna smoke you, dude.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm
Why?
gonna smash that camera.
You have DHS watching you right there, lasered on you. You have a sniper lasered on you right now.
So he said that he is going to smoke you if you don't get out of there. And then it looked like DHS snipers came to your rescue. They zeroed in on him and lit him up with one of their lasers. That's what eventually got him to back down. But for people who say that there's not violence going on in front of these facilities, what do you say?
It's a complete lie. There's lots of violence going on. That's just one of the many threats I got that night. And when I was walking back to my car, another person pulled out their gun and threatened me, saying, "You want to be Kirk Jr.?" I mean, these people are very dangerous, and they're unhinged. Just the other night, a woman got beat up She got punched in the face out there, and you're seeing it. These people they think they can get away with anything. They've been out there for over 100 days, yelling, screaming, terrorizing, and the police are nowhere to be seen. And the ICE and the ICE are all on their own out there.
Yeah, we heard that ERO officer that Bill Malugin was talking to a moment ago saying that Portland police aren't responding.
Okay, so the Kirk Jr. thing, we get it. Okay, so let's go back to where we supposed to be. Did we hear this one?
White House. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Because I don't know if I think we
Good
heard that
morning.
one.
What became
What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard
Definitely ain't trying to go
units
there. No, we don't want that one.
give our opening statement, I want to say this is the second anniversary of Hamas invading the sovereign state of Israel. Yesterday, I had some Palestinian advocates talk to me about the number of people being killed.
Pep it up,
I'd
sir.
like to remind them there wouldn't be one death if there hadn't been this invasion of the sovereign state of Israel by what happened 2 years ago
You
today.
dang right, stay at
Attorney
home.
General Bondi,
Get
since
out
your
the way.
confirmation, you've now had the opportunity to face the federal bureaucracy that you must reform to better serve the American people. As I said to Director Patel, your charter is no simple task. When you arrived, you were left with the Justice Department free fall. Senate Democrats have
Please
denied
smack
your
the thumbs
leadership
up, y'all.
personnel. We haven't been able to confirm your Assistant Attorney General for Congressional Affairs. It's now been 7 months. All the while, Democrats complain that they can't get answers from the Office of Ledge Affairs. They have blocked the confirmation of that person. Since your confirmation, you've taken steps to institute needed reforms. Under your leadership, the Justice Department has cut funding to politicize programs to reinvest in core policing activities. Focusing on crime and getting tough on criminals is a welcome change from 4 years of Biden administration soft on crime policies. During the Biden administration, the Justice Department failed to collect billions of dollars in criminal fines and penalties from corporate offenders. That's money should have been placed in the Crime Victims Fund, and much of the money of the past administration did collect went to the Justice Department slush funds instead of aiding victims of criminals and violent activity. My Democratic colleagues have shared concerns about funding agency and law enforcement, but generally haven't supported funding programs. Under the Democrat leadership, the COPS reauthorization was held over in committee at least 8 times before the 118th Congress concluded. It never received a vote in this committee. More recently, Democrats have refused to support fundamental Justice Department programs like Protect Safe Neighborhoods. And last week, Democrats again blocked most of the Police Week bills from passing the Senate, even though they passed out of this committee unanimously. In contrast to these indefensible positions, the judiciary provisions in the Republican reconciliation bill made hundreds of millions of dollars available to the Justice Department to combat crime. Attorney General Bondi, you've also created task force to attack the problems left by your predecessor. You've created a team to review the overwhelming evidence of political weaponization by federal law enforcement, including the discredited Crossfire Hurricane investigations. Your weaponization working group has worked with my staff to bring forward resolutions for whistleblowers, and I commend you and your staff efforts to find solutions for these patriots. I understand the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias has done an investigation in how the Biden administration weaponized the government against people of faith. I look forward to your next report on that subject. Now you've also shuttered a certain task force that was a stain on this country, the Foreign Influence Task Force. Democrats have cried about closing this misleadingly named unit. The task force was involved in undermining my and Senator Johnson's Biden family investigation. Instead of rooting out foreign influence, the task force became a political weapon. And speaking of political weapons, I'm now going to address examples of political weaponization in the previous administration. Most recently, I and Senator Johnson made public information relating to Arctic frost, expansive targeting of Republicans. And on Monday, just yesterday, because of our investigative work, the FBI disclosed that the Biden administration used Arctic frost to target Republican senators, including several senators on this very committee. This is an outrage, an unconstitutional breach, and ought to be immediately addressed by you and Director Patel. It's also a clear example of why the Justice Department has had to fire personnel who you hear Democrats defending. While on the taxpayers' dime, these now fired employees not only weaponized law enforcement, but some of them also retaliated against patriotic whistleblowers. These are indefensible acts. Now I've obtained additional.
Okay, so Operation Arctic Frost was an FBI investigation launched in April of 2022 to probe concerns related to efforts to interfere with the 2022 presidential election. And the investigation later formed the basis of Special Colonel Jack Smith's case into the alleged election interference by Donald Trump and his allies. And it also goes on to say that while initially framed as a narrowed inquiry, whistleblowers' disclosures to Congress and recent documents released has shown that the investigation expanded to scrutinize nearly 100 Republicans-aligned individuals and organizations, including Turning Point USA, the Republican National Committee, and the Republican Attorneys General. Wow. Okay. So Charlie Kirk.
Weaponization records thanks to brave whistleblowers that predate Arctic frost. I've obtained documents created by then Supervisory Special Agent Devo, dated March 2, 2017. The title of this document is quote unquote Trump, and it appears to relate to matters different.
Look, it goes on to say that involvement of the Trump and Pence. So as part of the investigation, FBI also obtained the government cell phones of former President Donald Trump and former Vice President Pence. It says newly released FBI data have revealed that the investigation collected the cellular toll data of several Republican lawmakers, including Senator Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, and Ron Johnson. This data included call dates, times, and locations, though not the content of the conversations.
Then Crossfire Hurricane. This document discusses a rumor at FBI headquarters that the FBI's Washington field office was leaning towards opening a case on the Trump campaign. Tebow noted they weren't close to opening an investigation, but did say this, quote, "What are we doing? Aggressively seeking out open source information, human intelligence info that could predicate a case," end quote. You see, less than 2 months into the Trump's first presidency, the partisan Comey FBI was very hard at work.
Is that nice, Jay
another
Razors?
case against Trump. Tebow and the FBI eventually got their wish in April 2022 with the opening of Arctic frost. This was a political fishing expedition to get Trump at all costs, just like Crossfire Hurricane. And of course, it's a disgrace to the taxpayers. Whistleblowers have provided me with another document. This document is a 2017 case, updated, also drafted by then Supervisor Special Agent Tebow, This is a case update for CR 15, the now disbanded and discredited public corruption squad at FBI's Washington field office, which says, quote, McAuliffe case, Steve Sullivan, chief financial officer of Teneo, was interviewed in New York City.
Come on, 300 people, hit the thumbs up. Now, I got 135 on crime, 42 thumbs up. Come on, y'all. Hit the thumbs up, please. And let me look on this other channel.
Info provided seemed to confirm Teneo was used as a pass-through for Doug Band to pay former president of the United States, end of quote. Doug Band was deputy assistant to then President Clinton and continued to work for him in post-presidency. Therefore, it's pretty clear that the reference to the president of the United States is Bill Clinton. The document further notes additional interviews the FBI planned to conduct as part of the case. This information confirms there was an FBI case on McAuliffe, and it indicates the Clintons and their associates were relevant to it. Did the FBI throw its resources behind this matter just like it did against Trump and his associates? A legitimate question. Or did they sweep it under the rug? A legitimate question. So, General Bondi, I'd like to have you provide me with all the records relating to these matters for further verification. Lastly, whistleblowers have provided me additional records related to the Biden FBI political conduct against Peter Navarro. The first document is a request for physical surveillance on Navarro the day the FBI arrested him. The second document is a timeline.
Shout out to the 116 people that hit the thumbs up on the politics, and we still at 45 with 100 watching on the crime. Can y'all please double tap the screen or hit the three dots upper right to support the content, the host, and the channel is free, y'all. It is free. Let me see what y'all saying about this. What do y'all think? I'm about ready to go past him, but I did want to show the beginning of the what we talking about here. So Dab said, how dare you call us out on our bullshit? Trump for emperor. Trump 28 MAGA said Alzheimer. Okay. Can y'all please smack the thumbs up? I'm giving y'all a couple minutes to get that done. Wow, what the heck? I can't even read some of these comments. But y'all, please smack the thumbs up, will you? Please subscribe and press that notification bell and thumbs up. Please. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for sharing it. For sharing it.
When Navarro,
For sharing it. Thank you for
when
sharing
Navarro,
it.
FBI didn't arrest him at his house, which was literally right next to the FBI headquarters. Instead, they surveilled him and his fiancee all morning, starting at his home, following them to the airport, and then arrested him in public at the Reagan airport. The way Navarro was treated is unnecessary. General Bondi, I would like you to
We love
provide me
President
all
Trump.
records relating to this matter. Attorney General
The
Bondi,
fossil need to go.
this Congress, I've made public one document after another, one whistleblower disclosure after another, one example of weaponization after another. So to our average constituent, this is all history, but it's all pointing out the wrong of government, using the power of government to go after people. They're
same moving.
Political people you don't like. We're pointing this all out because we can't have this repeated in the United States. We want to end to it right now, whether we have Republican or Democrat administration.
The next guy is going to be good.
All evidence of your predecessors' total failures. It's time for accountability. And I look forward to hearing about your success in that regard. Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Chairman Grassley,
He's
for
gonna
holding
give
this
a lot of
oversight hearing.
information.
Welcome, Attorney General Bondi. I'm glad that we are following this committee's longstanding tradition of regular oversight hearings with the Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, and the Secretary of Homeland Security. These hearings have never been more important as President Trump turns the full force of the federal government on Chicago and other American cities. The assault on the city I am proud to represent is just one example of how President Trump and Attorney General Bondi shut down justice at the Department of Justice even before the president's party, controlling the White House, Senate, and House of Representatives, shut down the government. The Attorney General has systematically weaponized our nation's leading law enforcement agency to protect President Trump and his allies and attack his opponents and sadly, the American people. You have purged hundreds of senior career officials since you first appeared before us. These men and women had dedicated their careers to protecting the American people. As a result, the department has lost literally thousands of years of law enforcement expertise. To be specific, you disbanded the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force and the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team, despite the growing threat of foreign election interference and the drastic rise in cryptocurrency crimes. You forced out almost 75% of the Civil Rights Division's career attorneys, while hate crimes are on the rise. You fired more than 100 immigration judges, while the immigration case backlog is more than 3 million. You cut the public integrity section from 30 prosecutors to 2, while political corruption skyrockets. During your confirmation hearing, I asked you about your many potential conflicts of interest as a former lobbyist. You responded under oath, quote, "You will consult with career ethics officials within the department and make the appropriate decision," end of quote. But the Justice Department then removed those career ethics officials and put in their place inexperienced political appointees beholden to President and you. And you've effectively shut down the Office of Professional Responsibility, which investigates misconduct by Department of Justice attorneys. Now, with these ethical guardrails out of the way, corruption has run rampant at the Department of Justice. Although you've been a registered foreign agent for Qatar, you did not recuse yourself from signing off on President Trump's solicitation of a free jet from the royal family, even though this gift was clearly illegal. Connections to Attorney General Bondi seem to yield more favorable outcomes for defendants. At least 2 long-running federal prosecutions were abruptly dropped after the defendants hired your brother. It's no surprise that Ed Morton, failed U.S. attorney nominee you appointed as senior official, said, quote, "No MAGA left behind." Our nation's top law enforcement agency has become a shield for the president and his political allies when they engage in misconduct. Last year, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, was allegedly recorded accepting a $50,000 bag of cash in exchange for promising immigration enforcement-related contracts. Under your leadership, the investigation into Mr. Homan was dropped. After President Trump pardoned nearly 1,600 January 6 insurrectionists, including more than 600 charged with assaulting or impeding law enforcement, the Department of Justice is arguing in court that these pardons provide immunity for wholly unrelated crimes in multiple cases. Jared Weiss was filmed on January 6th, encouraging his fellow rioters to attack the Metropolitan Police Department officers. And he said, "F them, kill them." What happened to Mr. Weiss? He's been hired by you as a senior advisor. In February, you said the Epstein client list was, quote, "sitting on my desk right now for review." 8 months later, you still haven't produced these files, and a credible whistleblower told my office that FBI agents were directed to flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. The Department of Justice ordered the dismissal of corruption charges against the former New York City Mayor Eric Adams in a corrupt backroom deal to secure his cooperation with the president's immigration agenda. Acting U.S. Attorney Daniel Sassoon, a Republican appointed by President Trump, resigned in protest. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, a Republican appointed by President Trump, was forced to resign because he didn't believe there was sufficient evidence to indict New York Attorney General Letitia Adams or former FBI Director James Comey. In his place, President Trump installed his former personal attorney, someone with no prosecutorial experience, to indict Director Comey, which she did. She joined a network of unqualified MAGA loyalists masquerading as federal prosecutors, like Alina Habba, who said she would use her position to, quote, "turn New Jersey red," close quote, and Sigil Chattah, who once said that a black political opponent was, quote, "should be hanging from an effing crane."
That's ridiculous.
The president and attorney general attempted to bypass the Senate to install these unqualified
Wait a minute.
extremists.
Hell
Where do
no.
you find
Wait, who said that? Who the
these
hell?
people?
What?
Courts have ruled. The Department of Justice ordered the dismissal of corruption charges against the former New York City Mayor Eric Adams in a corrupt backroom deal to secure his cooperation with the president's immigration agenda. Acting U.S. Attorney Daniel Sassoon, a Republican appointed by President Trump, resigned in protest. Acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, a Republican appointed by President Trump, was forced to resign because he didn't believe there was sufficient evidence to indict New York Attorney General Letitia Adams or former FBI Director James Comey. In his place, President Trump installed his former personal attorney, someone with no prosecutorial experience, to indict Director Comey, which she did. She joins a network of unqualified MAGA loyalists masquerading as federal prosecutors, like Alina Habba, who said she would use her position to, quote, "turn New Jersey red," close quote, and Sigil Chattah, who once said that a black political opponent was, quote, "should be hanging from an effing crane," end of quote. The president and attorney general attempted to bypass the Senate to install these unqualified extremists. Where do you find these people? Courts have ruled that both Ms. Haba and Ms. Chadha are serving in their roles illegally, jeopardizing countless prosecutions by your office. Why? And that's just one example of how the Department of Justice is making America less safe. Attorney General Bondi shut down the Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Force, OXADEF, which has dismantled thousands of criminal organizations. And you diverted thousands of FBI, DEA, and ATF agents and DOJ prosecutors from their critical missions to carry out the president's mass deportation agenda. Attorney General Bondi, not surprisingly, federal drug prosecutions have dropped to the lowest level in decades. Let me repeat that. Federal prosecutions for drug crimes have dropped to the lowest level in decades on your watch. The Department of Justice has also unilaterally terminated 373 grants that provide critical funding to state and local law enforcement to the tune of $500 million. The 2026 Trump budget would slash the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program known as HIDA by more than a third, from $300 million to $196 million. Instead of taking common sense steps that have proven to help reduce crime, Attorney General, you're focusing on helping President Trump play strongman on television. He has illegally deployed troops to Chicago and other American citizens and has threatened to send more. The Justice Department defends this dubious legal basis for these deployments and diverts DOJ personnel and their components to assist in these efforts. These deployments basically target Democratic-run cities and Democratic leaders, ignoring many Republican-led areas of our country with even higher crime rates, and making clear that this is for political theater, not public safety. One particular chaotic raid in Chicago Tuesday last week, aided by the FBI and ATF, which you supervise. In the middle of the night, federal agents pulled women and children out of their beds, crashed down the doors to their homes, destroyed their apartments, zip-tied children and others, and detained immigrants and U.S. citizens alike for hours in vans. When one witness complained about the treatment of the small children, an agent laughed at her and said, "F them kids." On Friday, a federal judge appointed by President Trump held that deploying the National Guard in Portland is illegal. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller accused her of, quote, legal insurrection, close quote. At a time of rising threats to federal judges, this kind of language is inexcusable. Last week, the President and Secretary Hegseth summoned senior military officials to a political pep rally at Quantico, where the President said he wanted to use American cities as, quote, training grounds for our military. Training grounds for our military. To fight the, quote, enemy within. Chicago is not the enemy. Our fellow Americans are not the enemy. It is abhorrent for the president, who is supposed to represent all Americans, regardless of political party, to describe anyone who disagrees with him in this manner. To my Republican colleagues who claim the previous administration weaponized the Department of Justice, President Biden retained President Trump's FBI Director Christopher Wray, who President Trump then fired. President Biden never directed the Attorney General to prosecute his political opponents. President Biden never fired his own political appointees for refusing to prosecute his targets. What has taken place since January 20th, 2025 would make even President Nixon recoil. This is your legacy, Attorney General Bondi. In 8 short months, you have fundamentally transformed the Justice Department and left an enormous stain in American history. It will take decades to recover. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Would you please rise so I can give you?
Okay, so I was wondering who the heck were they talking about with that name, Alina Haba? And it says that this person, Alina Haba, was or is an American lawyer and political advisor to Donald Trump. In March of 2025, she was appointed an interim U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey by Trump and named a special attorney by Attorney General Pam Bondi. However, a federal judge ruled August 2025 that her continued tenure as a U.S. attorney was unlawful, a decision that has been appealed. So Trump's defense attorney, before her political appointment, Haba served as a personal lawyer and legal spokesperson for Donald Trump. Her work for him included defending him in the E. Jean Carroll defamation trial, which resulted in an $83 million judgment against Trump. She has also represented him in other civil suits, including a $100 million lawsuit against the New York Times that was ultimately dismissed. And then Haba is the managing partner of Haba and Associates, a New Jersey-based law firm. And also, speaking of lawsuits, I heard that Trump sued YouTube for nearly 25 million. And for canceling his account or whatever. Goodness gracious. So yeah, they paid him. They had to pay him. So I'm gonna have to look more into that, but I seen that last week and I'm like, wow, it's a whole lot going on. And I see that some of y'all still ain't got to that thumbs up button. We got 52 thumbs up with 136 on the crime. Can y'all please smack that thumbs up? Well, they weren't doing their job. And then somebody said, okay, let's see. Tell that old part to shut his dumb. Oh my God, Tony. Good luck on your goal. Yeah, please hit the thumbs up. I'm thinking you did since you wishing me luck. All right, let's get back to this.
Swear.
Nah, actually, I didn't want to hear all this swearing.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give before this committee will be the truth,
Let's
the
go
whole
to the
truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Please be seated and give us your opening statement.
Yeah, we got to hear her opening statement, I guess.
Thank you, Chairman Grassley and Ranking Member Durbin, and every member of this committee. I'm grateful for the opportunity to testify in front of you today. First, please join me in remembering, as you said, Chairman Grassley, all the Jewish people who lost their lives in the October 7th attacks 2 years ago today. Also, please let's pray for all the hostages and the families of all of those individuals. They are a critical reminder of our central mission here at the Department of Justice, protecting the safety and security of the American people.
Yeah, we ain't got time. So anyway, some of the things that people are saying, and I'm gonna let her say some things because somebody said shocking, disgusting. Pam Bondi should be in prison. Let's see what she said here.
Ranking member. I noticed it. White House with you, Chair. Ranking member. I noticed it. What's the secret?
No, we ain't got time to hear that. But I do want to hear some of what people are saying. Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of the United States. She works for us, the American people. She should not, she's not supposed to be Trump's personal attorney. She must have missed that class. And they said that Pam torched Senator Durbin. So let's see what she said here.
Units to the state of Illinois. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Okay, so that, like, she coming with big ball energy. People are calling her aggressive. Somebody said Pam Bondi is so disrespectful on the most basic professional question. She is combative, nasty, rude, and demeaning. This is not how U.S. Attorney Generals behave. This is not how our oversight hearings should ever be conducted, folks. This is not the United States. Let's see what she's saying here.
White House, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator White House, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay. Let me ask you. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women.
Okay. All right. So that this is people, they come right with the memes right away. It said somebody said that both need to be removed and arrested for covering up the pedo ring or triggers. Okay.
Already public information and no client list at a major. In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
Going back to the Epstein files, according to another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, you know, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations, who was a huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the flight logs, Senator Durbin?
I can tell you I did not refuse. One of the senators here wished to produce those logs, and I asked her to put it in writing, and she never did.
Yeah, I think Senator Blackburn would quarrel with you on that.
Well, I will quarrel with you as to Reid, somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. February, you
Ivermectin paste. Ivermectin cream.
Okay, so I want to thank the politics side. We got 246 people listening in with 140 thumbs up. We could have got 300, but we didn't. And we only got like 50 something on the crime channel. So I guess y'all not enjoying the content. So I'm not going to waste my time no more. I'm going to get up out of here. Shout out to Tone. Thank you for dropping in. We got to go though, y'all. And it's not just because of that. I got things to do. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please hit the replay if you haven't got a chance to. Also smack that thumbs up on the way out. And let me just say this too, because I want to say that CNN feels like Pam Bondi was deflecting. It says attorney Pam Bondi testified. This was 4.5 hours. And so y'all can go check that out. This is NBC that we was watching from. And they said Bondi continuously deflected questions from the Democrats on controversial issues, including the Jeffrey Epstein files, the prosecution of former FBI Director James Comey, and legal rationale for using the National Guards in the U.S. cities. The hearings come one day before Comey is set to be arraigned in federal court. So I guess that's tomorrow. And then it says his recent indictment for the federal grand jury for extraordinary escalation in the President Donald Trump efforts to prosecute his political enemies. So shout out to the 317 people still in the building. And if y'all could please support the channel, the content, and the host by smacking that thumbs up on the way out. But we gonna get up out of here, y'all. And so until next time, I will see y'all in the next video.
What in the fuckity fuck? Wow.
Y'all still got time to hit that thumbs up, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. And shout out to my new subscribers. We got 1.2K new subscribers in 28 days. I appreciate y'all. But hit that thumbs up, dang it. Let's go.
MTGB.
Drop that fire. Drop that fire and horns, y'all. Let's go. Shout out to 755 and Sandy Music. Peace and love, y'all. We out.